so you decided to pack up and move, but this time you decided you want to move out of state, try somewhere new. But 1,000 questions may come to mind, like how in the heck do we even move out of state? How do we get our stuff there? How do we get our cars there? How much is it going to cost? Should we buy a house? Do we rent first? How do I even get a job there? Well, let me tell you, in 2015, my wife and I did exactly that. We packed our bags in California and moved to the right coast in South Carolina. And along the way, we learned a lot of tips and tricks, a lot of good things, a lot of bad things about moving that we wanted to share with you. And so I'm going to teach you my 5 tips on how to move out of state. All right, so the first thing I want to tackle is how to get your stuff there. So there's a lot of different options, and this is really going to depend on how far you're going. Now for us, like I said, we went from California to South Carolina. So we weighed the different options. You know, you have your pods, you have your U-Haul boxes, or you can, rent a U-Haul and drive it across. Well, we looked at it, and what was best for us was the U-Haul boxes, and I'll explain why. We had a lot of friends that actually drove U-Hauls across country in different places when they moved, and they had issues with it. Air conditioners broke down, it broke down, and it was just like a major headache for them. So that's why we X'd that out of the idea since we were going so far. The next we looked at were between the U-Haul boxes and the pods. The thing with the pods is they really have 2 sizes for long distance, the small one and the ginormous one. And we were kind of in the middle position. So it was kind of like, do we pay the extra for the big one? Well, then we learned about the U-Haul boxes. U-Haul boxes are smaller boxes, and the main price you pay is that upfront price. And then it kind of adds a little bit on each box that you add. So you can kind of adjust for how many you're going to need. So we end up using about 4 or 5, I can't remember exactly. And you get these boxes. You can either have them dropped off, or they come on a trailer. You can bring them over to your house, load those up, and then bring them back to U-Haul, and then they put them on a train and they ship them to wherever you're going, and then they either deliver them to your house, or once again you go and pick them up with a trailer and drop them off. So that's the route that we went. Worked perfect. Let me tell you, our stuff actually got there a little bit sooner than they expected. Nothing was broken, everything was taken care of. So in our eyes, that was the best thing to do. So vehicles, how to get your vehicles to your new location. Obviously this is going to depend on how far you're going as well, but let me tell you, if you're going long distance, this can be the biggest headache ever. So what we ended up doing was shipping our vehicle. Thought it was going to be the easiest route, drive one vehicle, ship the other. Now we would probably still do it again because we really didn't want to drive both vehicles across the country. We wanted to both be in one car. That way we could be together, save on gas, whatever. But let me tell you, when it comes to this car shipping thing, in the end, my brother moved to Texas, I moved to South Carolina, both from California. Really wasn't much of a price difference. So you're going to pay about the same no matter how far you're going. Now here's the part that's a headache. Literally how this works is you pay a company that puts their bid on this truck shipping webpage. They say, I have a car that needs to go from location X to location Z. How much is it going to cost? And basically there's this kind of bidding, and you get these different quotes and blah, 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 blah. That's what they tell you. Well, we literally did not get the phone call till probably a day before we were actually going to leave that said, hey, we got a truck for you. This is how much it's going to cost. They can meet you. And it was like, we were stressing out the whole time. Like, when's this truck coming? Is it coming? And the same thing happened with my brother, and he used a completely different company. So it's going to be that same scenario either way. You're going to be stressing out. It's going to end up costing more than they told you expected. In the end though, our car made it there. We didn't have to stress about driving it. So it is what it is. I would do it again. But let me just tell you, expect that it's going to be a headache. It's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be stressful. And it's going to cost more than they tell you it does. All right. So now you've decided to move there, and you're deciding, where do we live? Well, it really depends on your knowledge of that area. Because here's the thing. You can look on Zillow, you can look on Google and find all these places and be like, this looks like a great place to live, and you're never really gonna know till you get there. That's how it was for us. We found like this perfect house, we loved it. Once we moved there, we realized, I'm glad we didn't move there because it really wasn't the best location. It was right on this major highway, and we just really didn't know looking it up online. And we had even gone there and visited once or twice, and we just didn't realize it. So if that's your scenario, what I would always suggest is rent first, learn the area, and then decide where you want to buy it. That's what we did in less than a year. We bought our house and moved to where we wanted to live, but we really had to live there to decide exactly where we wanted to call home. And I'll tell you, as a real estate agent too, people call us all the time, where's a good area? I'll tell you, as agents, it's hard because we're really held to a lot of rules because good neighborhood is like subjective, and what I think is good may not be what you think is good. We really can't give personal opinions on that, and what I may like may not be what you like. So that's why you really have to feel it out instead of just relying on Google, relying on real estate agents. That's why I say rent first, and within a couple months, within a year, find a place that you want to call home and then move there. So another thing I want to talk about is fees. So this is something that surprises a lot of people, and I really didn't think about it because we were coming from California where fees, taxes, all these things are outrageous. So coming to us, our perspective, we're like, hey, this isn't that bad. But a lot of people come and move to different states and they don't realize different taxes and fees that come into play. Like for instance, one of the big ones here in South Carolina is vehicle tax. We get charged a property tax on our vehicle every year. So when you register your vehicle here, you're going to pay a property tax. For some people in other states, they only pay their DMV registration, and it may be $10, $15 a year, whatever. And they come here and they're like, whoa, what is this outrageous bill? So those are the kind of things that you really have to look into so they don't surprise you. So one of the things we get asked about all the time is, how do you get a job where you move? Like, I've decided the state I want to move, but I need a job there before I move. And that's exactly how it was for us. And I know some of you maybe have your job figured out, and that's why I saved it for last for those of you that are needing that. We were not in a financial position where we could just move over there, have a bunch of money, sit around and apply for jobs once we were there. And honestly, that's what happened at a lot of places. You'd apply and they'd call you and they'd be like, come on down for an interview. And I'd be like, I live in California. They're like, cool. Whenever you move here, call us and we'll bring you in for an interview. And it was like, I can't do that. Can we like do it over the phone? And they really wouldn't let us. So we were having this big struggle. So what ended up happening, I was working as an EMT. My wife was working in the hospital on one of the ICU floors, DOU floors as a monitor tech. And she ended up switching job careers. She had really tried for a long time. It took us about a year. And she got an opportunity to go into real estate. And so she said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it. She jumped into the real estate thing and has really never looked back. So she did a job change to what was available at the time for her based on her referral. Me, on the other hand, we wanted to buy a house shortly after we moved here. So I had to keep that income. And I really wanted to just stick in that career field. So what we ended up doing, and I really don't know if this is what helped us or if it was just coincidental, but we knew somebody that lived in the state as well. And whenever we'd go and visit, we'd stay at their house. So someone recommended this to us. They say, use their address when you apply for a job. So I ended up doing that, and I got a call for an interview. Now, I was upfront and honest with them when I went into the interview. They saw that all my career history was in California. And I told them, I said, yeah, I live in California, but we're looking to move here. But we need a job before we can move. And they said, sure, great, come on down. You can interview with us. This is how the process works. And so we were ready at that point. So I bought a plane ticket, jumped on a plane, flew across the country. My wife came with me, went in, interviewed. 2 days later, they had like a physical you had to take and do all this stuff, paperwork, drug test, things like that. Flew back home. Monday got a call. Hey, we accepted your position. You start in 2 weeks. So then that began the process of everything that you heard before. We had 2 weeks to basically get everything packed up and get across the country to start our job. So that's how it all winded together in some crazy whirlwind that started as a year-long process crammed into 2 weeks. So we made it happen. You can make it happen too. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to me. But those are my 5 tips on how to help you move across the country or move out of state. Take care, God bless, and we'll see you next time.